Welcome to the September edition of Junk for the Heap, a monthly look at what I'm throwing my money at in a vain attempt at achieving happiness. Today is Saturday the 4th and I have a parcel with 2 figures in it. Firstly, I would like to give a massive thanks to Zortrider for pointing me in these guys' direction, because I wanted these 2 or 3 months ago from my local Forbidden Planet and they either sold out or were taken off sale, but then Comics and Cocktails came to the rescue. In the early 90s, Beavis and Butthead was a huge part of my adolescence. They introduced me to so many cool bands. I haven't seen it for a long time. I can't imagine it would have aged well. But being 12 or 13 year old, I really dug the humour. I thought I was proper edgy and cool watching it when I was probably too young to be watching it. And there's a big part of me as a collector today that just wants little representations of stuff I liked when I was growing up on a shelf. And these are ideal. I went for the Great Cornholio version of Beavis and the standard version of Butthead. They're also available in their Burger World outfits and the standard Beavis, but I'm more than happy with just these 2. I don't think I'm going to bother opening these. I've got Robocop reaction figures that I opened, and the figures themselves aren't great, and I think when it comes to reaction, the card is just as much a part of the figure as the figure itself, if that makes sense. It's entirely a package deal, I think, so these are probably going to stay on the card, and now I've just got to find some way to fit them. It's just a matter of time until I totally run out of shelf space altogether and I have to start putting stuff on the walls. My sincerest apologies if you're fed up with Monster in my pocket. Finally mounted the mountain on the wall. So I'm going to have a grand old time sticking all the monsters in their holes. Yeah.
Monsters. 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 Monsters.
There we go. All mounted on the wall, looking amazing in the Julian Clary suite. I don't know if you noticed, but in that time lapse I dropped my mummy. But other than that, I don't know what this says about me, that was the most fun I have had in ages. That looks truly sublime. It is Thursday the 9th, just cycled home from work. I am sweaty as all hell, and I've got a blue parcel. It smells like leeks and sheep. It must be from Wales. Kingdom tracks that I had no intention of ever getting. Brad, that box is battered. Thanks. Brad ended up with 2 of these because he's an impatient boy and said he's going to sell this dead cheap. I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll swap you this for some stuff, and we did a bit of a swap, and Royal Mail lost this, and it eventually turned up a week later. It's odd because I haven't heard a whole lot of good stuff about this, and I don't have any joy with previous Trax figures. I think the G1 Trax figure is by far the best. Masterpiece Trax, I absolutely detest with a passion, and it reminded me that I did a song about Masterpiece Trax a couple of years ago when I was part of Figure Force, and we did a 60-second Masterpiece challenge video, so I decided to write a song in 60 seconds. I don't know, I suppose I was intrigued about mainline tracks just to see if it was any better or even worse, possibly. Could be fun.
Legs and weedy weary arms. Do you even live, bro? It doesn't do you harm. The funniest backpack my eyes have ever seen. It doesn't have in how utterly obscene. Masterpiece Tracks can suck my sack. MP25, my head's in overdrive. You can barely buzz his head cause it's stuck down there. You get a row, but I don't even care cause he's got a little stand that nobody else does. But right now he's lost, what a way to kill me buzz. Masterpiece Tracks can suck my sack. MP25, my head's in overdrive. East of the car mode is really rather slick, but the flying vehicle makes me physically sick. Trappy little missiles and flimsy floppy wings. These are a few of my most hated things. Masterpiece Tracks can suck my sack. MP25, my head's in overdrive.
It is Saturday the 11th. I've had a bit more of a fiddle with old Trax here, and he's alright. Those panels, like everybody's probably mentioned, the tab just isn't deep enough, but aesthetically he looks quite nice. I haven't transformed him yet. I might do that after I've filmed this little bit. So I'm going away from the 19th to a nice little lodge in the middle of nowhere, and my original plan was to, while I was there, have a little bit of R&R and build the Furai Flame Toys Rodimus figure. That hasn't gone to plan, as it hasn't arrived yet. I haven't even been charged for it yet, so goodness knows when it's going to arrive. Typically, the shop I ordered mine from is getting this later than other places that I've got it online, which is pretty much the story of my life. Unless I'm advising my wife where to get stuff from, and then it arrives months earlier than anybody else, but I can't play with it until Christmas Day. So plan A has been scuppered. This is plan B. I've never made a Star Wars Bandai vehicle before. I've done plenty of the figures, AT-ST from Return of the Jedi. Really looking forward to having a look at this because it's got a little Wookiee in it. As you can see behind me, I have cleared a shelf and have a shelf now for Doom figures. There's going to be 12 in this line by Numbskull Designs, and I, since being a child, have been programmed to collect them all, thanks Kenna. But I was looking at these and there's 2 of them that I don't really relate to or want. And up until today, I was still planning on getting all 12. And something just like clicked in my head where you don't have to collect them all. If you don't want something, don't buy it, which sounds like the most simple thing in the whole world. But when you're a bit of a toy wanker like myself, this behaviour is hard to knock on the head. It does feel like pre-planned behaviour of, these are all coming out, so therefore I'm going to buy all of them. And you know what? Not this time. I'm not going to buy the Hell Knight, and I'm not going to buy the Marauder, because the Hell Knight doesn't look like the Hell Knight that I associate with. That would have been a repaint of the Baron of Hell, if so. And the Marauder is a brand new character that I don't really have a lot of investment in, so I'm not going to buy them. I'm just going to buy 10 out of the 12. Like a normal functioning person. And that feels pretty cool, but very weird. Who am I? Ruined by rubbish tabs.
There's a blue car! Blue! Blue car!
It's Friday the 17th and Trixie has got herself a Cella Toys Series 1 Wrestling Megastars Hayabusa figure. She pre-ordered this back in April, so she's been waiting for ages and ages for it. And she's so excited about how good it is that she's just passed the fuck out. And I don't blame her, because it's mint. It's Saturday the 18th, and today I have something old, something new, something 3D printed, and something red. That's not right. I went to Smith's because online I saw that they had no in stock nearby, and I had every intention of getting 3 of these because 3 is a magic number, and my wife already has me one for Christmas. Now Lizzie doesn't understand army building and threw a massive huff. So I'm going to a friend's house today and he lives near a Smith's, and I've just checked and they've got no in stock, right? So I explained this to Lizzie that I want 3. And she's just kicked off, saying I'm not allowed to have one because what's the point in me even being alive?
No, that's not. Because I bought you one for Christmas.
But I want 3.
Well, like, you may as well fucking have that one then. Then I bought you paid for that one then.
But I still need another 2.
Yeah, pay
Lads,
for them as well.
lads, what is this? Disgrace.
Child.
I think you should buy 5 no's today and then 7 from Lizzie for Christmas. She might hate me for that. Sorry, Lizzie.
I had to explain about army building. She still didn't understand, but I still bought one. We kind of came to a compromise in that this isn't going to get opened or played with until Christmas Day. So I think she still kind of wins in the end, and she still doesn't understand. Which, if I'm honest, is kind of making me question everything about my existence as well. This big lad has been in foster care for the last few weeks. Quick little backstory. Christmas 2013, I got this. Boxing Day 2013, I lost his visor. No idea how I did it. He was complete for 1 day and he's been incomplete since December the 26th, 2013. I've had a saved eBay search for just the visor part or junkers of this guy so I could one day get him back to his proper state, but it has never ever happened. And for some reason, I never even thought of asking my mate Johnny with his 3D printing wizardry until very recently. And he kindly accepted the task. It was really hard to even find pictures of just the visor online. I say hard, it was impossible. So I had to rely on my good pal Gareth, Alpha Prime 88. He took his visor off and took photos of every conceivable angle of this, and Johnny drew it up on his computer and then went about making me one. The first thing he had in mind was he wanted to do it cast in resin, but I think it was just a bit too thin and that didn't work. He was getting all frustrated. So he eventually just 3D printed one in clear red, and I think this looks absolutely unbelievable. It isn't a perfect replica, but it is so close, and it's just wonderful seeing this complete again after so long. I love the fact that it's got like the gradient, like the darker red down to the almost white. That was a happy accident. That was not Johnny's intent, but just the way it came out. But I love that. I think it adds a nice bit of depth to it. As you can tell, I have the European version with the sound box very much censored so that it doesn't say anything whatsoever. Great French speaking, German speaking people ruining my toys. Speaking of this Metroplex though, surely this guy is up for a reissue soon. I mean, we got 6 Gun and we're getting Slammer. Anybody who missed out on this, because it's an old figure now. And if you're buying 6 Gun and Slammer and you don't have a Metroplex, then what's the point? Come on Hasbro, help some of my Metroplexless bros out. Not only did Johnny help me complete my Metroplex, which is a huge, huge deal, he also printed us this. This is the Dave Station. This is a RetroPie console, chock full with arcade games, printed to look like the classic PlayStation 1. How cool is that? That is the sound of my youth right there. Dave Station. Holy shit balls, this is insane. So many games. I'm gonna have a bash at G.I. Joe, the arcade game. No idea how to play it. Who shall be? I've got to be Snake Eyes, haven't I? Let's go. There's a whole section on here dedicated to arcade wrestling games. The main event, I had a family holiday to Florida in 1990 or 1991, and this arcade machine was at the hotel. And I remember being totally blown away with it, mainly because of the commentary. This is a Konami game from 1988. Wow. So none of the wrestlers were like official wrestlers, they were all rip-offs. Wow. Off to a good start. This is like being slapped in the face with a dick made out of nostalgia. Oh yeah. Johnny, if you're watching this, thank you so much for fixing my Metroplex and for the Dave Station. Amazing stuff. So sadly, I'm leaving today and feeling massively heartbroken. The relaxation and the peace of mind here is unbelievable. I just don't want to go back to a life of routine and alarm clocks and noise and people. Just really struggling. It is Tuesday the 28th. And the postman has just been at the door and I've got 2 parcels, very well packaged, thank you Mr. eBay seller, possibly a new rabbit hole. The 1998 original San Francisco Toy Makers WCW figures. These are in a 4.5 inch scale and Obviously, me being me, I love my Hasbros and my Retros, and these are the same sort of height. Not exactly the same sort of aesthetic. They're much more, I suppose you could say, realistically proportioned, and they're pretty poor figures. But in my head, I kind of came to the conclusion a few weeks ago that these kind of are the original Retros. They're the first wrestling figures since the Hasbro line to be this sort of height. Now I kind of want them all. Sadly, I had Kevin Nash a few years ago, but I sacrificed the head to make a custom, and that didn't turn out well. So it's a shame that I had that and then didn't realise I should have kept it. But yeah, I've got Rick Steiner and I've got Sting. So I can kind of get Rick in a Hasbro style pose. I mean, let's compare this Rick Steiner to the Hasbro Rick Steiner. So you can see they're a similar sort of height. The heads, if the heads were just a little bit bigger on these, they'd be amazing. But yeah, something else for me to hunt on eBay for and waste my money on. Tremendous. See, one of the weirdest things I find about YouTube is I don't really know who watches my stuff, and this, depending on your stance on figures, is going to be quite a divisive one. At first glance, this is a vintage Star Wars Last 17 EV99, but it isn't an original. It is a Stan Solo Creations custom / bootleg / knockoff. Call it what you will. I don't judge anybody for the way they collect or what they collect, and I'd like to be viewed the same. I'm under no misconception that this is indeed a fake. But personally, obviously because I bought it, I don't mind that. I am not prepared to pay £200 plus for an original one of these when they are well known for having warped legs, arms that fall off. I'm saying that, this one's even got a warped leg, so it's quite accurate. But I'm not trying to fool myself. I'm certainly not trying to fool anybody else. And if it did come at the time where I was going to sell my collection, there's no way I would sell this as an original because I'm not that kind of person. And that's the only time I see an issue with stuff like this, if somebody's selling this misleadingly. And who really benefits from me personally, Dave, sat here in my toy room with this going to be on my Jabba's Palace, from me having a real version of this over a fake version? The only person that benefits would be a toy trader that is reaping massive profit from this. And how is that any different from a fan providing a service for people who want a representation of this? That's what I see this as. I don't see this as the real deal. I see this as a representation of a vintage EV99. If I can get this for 35 quid and feel happy with it, which I do, then I'm going to do that. This is well cool. She's got the articulated mouth, the arms, and the legs don't really move much, but that's just the way the original figure was. If you hate this kind of thing, fair enough. I respect your choice. If you're happy with this kind of thing, fair enough. I respect your choice. At the end of the day, I am happy and I'm not hurting anybody by owning this. It's Thursday the 30th, and instead of a new toy, I've got the dreaded red card of doom. Ah well, something for October I suppose. Finn,